You know, I've narrated a lot of stories on this channel, and very rare that I get a story about a best friend snitching on someone, keeping a secret, unless it's extenuating circumstances like this one. The phone rang at just after 11 p.m., and the name on the screen made me pull over. Her best friend had never called me in 6 years of marriage. Not on my birthday, not when my mother was in the hospital, not ever. I was mid-shift on an Uber route, and I killed the app and took the call in a gas station parking lot. She was crying before I said hello. I cannot do this anymore. She is at a hotel right now with him, and she just sent me a picture from the room, and I am done. I did not say a word. She told me the affair had been running for 6 months. She told me my wife had been using her as a confessional, bragging like it was a game. She told me tonight was the first time she saw the pictures and something broke in her. You are killing yourself working 2 jobs, and she is spending your money on hotel rooms. I couldn't sit with it anymore. She gave me the name of the hotel. She gave me the exit. I thanked her and I hung up, and I made one decision in that parking lot. I was not going to confront her. I was going to drive to that hotel, and I was going to get the kind of proof Virginia courts do not argue with. I drove to the hotel and parked in the back corner of the lot where the security light was out. My wife's car was there, angled in the way she always parks. The little dent on the rear bumper from when she hit the concrete pole at the grocery store 2 years ago. I rolled the window down 2 inches and I waited. 40 minutes later, the lobby door opened and she walked out with him. She had her hand on the small of his back. He had his arm around her waist. They stopped at his car and she kissed him. The kind of kiss a woman gives a man she has been kissing for months. I had my phone up before they got to the car. The timestamp in the corner of my screen ran the whole time. The hotel sign was in the frame. Her license plate was in the frame. His face and her face were in the frame. I kept recording until she got into her own car and pulled out. Then I started my engine. I had driven Uber in this area for 3 years. I knew every shortcut and every light that ran long at that hour. She took the main road home because she always took the main road home. I took the cut-through behind the shopping center and ran 3 yellow lights in a row. I beat her home by 12 minutes. I was in bed by 2:15 a.m. She walked in at 2:27. She showered. She came to bed smelling like hotel soap and told me she loved me and rolled over. I said I loved her back because I needed her to sleep. I needed her to wake up the next morning and kiss me goodbye like nothing had changed. The next morning at work, I emailed the video to 3 different accounts. Then I pulled up a search on my phone for divorce attorneys in Virginia who handled adultery cases. I found one whose office was 20 minutes from the store. The receptionist said he had a consultation opening at lunchtime. I took it. The office was in a strip mall next to a dentist and a tax preparer. One woman at a front desk with a phone headset and a box of tissues sitting on the corner of it. She saw me walk in, and she knew exactly why I was there. The attorney was maybe 60, gray hair, reading glasses on a chain, a blank yellow pad in front of him. He said, "Sit down, tell me what you have, and tell me what you want." I played the video on my phone. He watched it without saying anything. When it ended, he took his glasses off and asked 3 questions. How long had we been married? Any children? Did I want to stay married? I said 6 years. No, and no. He said Virginia has no fault divorce and fault divorce, and most people do not know the difference matters. He said if I filed no fault, I would wait 6 months, and she would walk away with half of everything and a claim for spousal support. He said if I used what was on my phone, she would not see a single dollar of spousal support. He said the video was enough. The timestamp, the hotel sign, the kiss, the license plate, her face, his face, more than enough. I asked him what he charged. He said $3,500 to start. hourly after that. I wrote him a check out of the emergency account I had been building for 3 years without her knowing about it. He had one instruction before I left. He said, do not change anything about how you act toward her. Do not pull money out of joint accounts. Do not cancel any credit cards. Do not tell her best friend that her best friend called you. The worst thing you can do right now is give her a reason to start hiding money. The second worst thing is give her best friend a reason to flip back. He said, come back in 10 days with a list of every account and every asset we owned. The next 10 days were the hardest acting job of my life. I kissed her goodbye every morning. I ate dinner with her every night. I laughed at the same shows we always laughed at. But while she was at work, I was working on something else. I pulled 18 months of our bank statements at the public library, paid in cash, locked the folder in my work locker. I went through every line. There was nothing, not one hotel charge, not one restaurant I had never been to. She was smart. She had been hiding this for 6 months, and she had made sure not $1 of what she was doing with him ran through an account I could see. I pulled the credit card statements and found the same thing. No suspicious charges anywhere. She had set it up so that if I ever went looking, I would find exactly what I found, which was nothing. I pulled the cell phone records. There was a number she had been calling and texting for a year, over 400 times a month for the last 8 months, saved under a woman's name I had never heard her mention. But a phone record was not going to prove adultery on its own. The video was going to do that. So I stopped looking for hidden money and I built the asset list instead. Joint checking, joint savings, her 401k at $61,000, mine at $12,000, mortgage on the house, titles on both cars. 50-50 split was coming whether I liked it or not. She was going to walk with half the equity, half the savings, $30,500 from her 401k. That was Virginia. No kids, no proven marital waste, clean split. What she was not going to walk away with was spousal support, and she did not know it was already gone. I drove back to the attorney's office on day 10. He went through the folder. He looked up and said, the video is your case. The rest is just math. We file tomorrow. I drove home that night and I ate the meatloaf my wife made, and I told her it was the best one she had ever cooked, because tomorrow the process server was going to walk up to her office with papers in his hand, and I wanted her last normal dinner with me to be a good one. I kissed her goodbye at 5:30 a.m. like I always did. I clocked in at 6. At 9:47, my attorney called. He said the process server was on his way to her office right now. He said she is going to call you. Do not answer. Do not read her texts. Do not open her emails. If anything comes through, send it to me and let me deal with it. He said when you get home tonight, she is probably going to be there. The best thing you can do is not engage. Do not argue. Do not answer her questions. Do not tell her what you know. Go to the bedroom. Close the door. Lock it if you need to. If you absolutely have to say something, the one line you can use is this: talk to my lawyer. That is it. Do not expand on it. Do not justify it. Just walk away. At 10:11 a.m., my phone started ringing. It was her. I let it ring. By noon, she had called 11 times and sent 17 texts. At 12:22, she called my brother in North Carolina. My brother did not answer. At 12:40, she called the auto parts store directly. My manager took the call and told her I was with a customer. I heard her screaming through the receiver from 15 feet away. He hung up and told me to take as long as I needed. I clocked out at 6 p.m. Her car was in the driveway at an angle that told me she had pulled in fast. Her shoes were still on the front step. The front door was unlocked. She was on the couch with her makeup run halfway down her face and the envelope from the process server open in front of her. She stood up when she saw me. She said, "Please, just talk to me for 5 minutes." I walked past her toward the bedroom. She grabbed my arm. She said, "I deserve 5 minutes." I pulled my arm back and I said 4 words, "Talk to my lawyer." I walked into the bedroom and I locked the door behind me. She pounded on it for about 10 minutes. Then I heard her leave. The house was quiet for the first time all day. I got up at 5:30 like always. Her side of the closet was open. A suitcase was missing from the top shelf. Her toothbrush was gone from the bathroom. She had left a 4-page letter on the kitchen counter. I read the first paragraph. It was an explanation. I stopped reading and folded it in half and put it in a drawer. I never read the rest. I called my attorney from my truck on my lunch break. He said, "Put the letter in a Ziploc bag and bring it to me." He said she probably wrote things in there she is going to regret. Over the next 3 weeks, she tried everything. She showed up at the auto parts store. My manager walked her out and told her if she came back, he would call the police. She showed up at my mother's house the following weekend. My mother did not open the door. She called my brother 7 times in one evening. He blocked her number. She sent emails from 3 different addresses. I forwarded every one of them unopened to my attorney. 3 weeks in, the mistake came. Her best friend called me again. Same number, 10:22 p.m. I almost did not answer, but I picked up. Her best friend was crying again. She said my wife had shown up at her apartment and stayed for 4 hours drinking wine, telling her that I had gone insane, that I was having an affair myself, that I had fabricated the hotel story to frame her and get out of paying spousal support. Then she said my wife had asked her for one favor. She had asked her to testify at the hearing that she had never seen my wife with another man. She had asked her to lie. Her best friend had told her no. I thanked her and I told her to write it all down, date it, sign it, keep it somewhere safe. I called my attorney at 10:47. He was quiet for about 10 seconds. Then he said, "That is witness tampering." He said, "Call her best friend back tomorrow and ask her if she would sign a sworn affidavit. If she says yes, we have her cornered." I called her the next morning. She said yes. Mediation was 6 weeks later in a conference room on the 2nd floor of her attorney's building. My attorney walked in with a leather folder under his arm, and he shook her attorney's hand, and he sat down. He did not say a word about what was in the folder. My wife sat down across from me. She had lost weight. She did not look at me. The mediator opened with the usual speech. Then her attorney spoke first. He said his client was seeking a 50-50 split on the assets and spousal support of $2,000 a month for 5 years. My attorney did not respond directly. He turned to the mediator and he said we would like to split into private caucus. The mediator nodded and took us into separate rooms. My attorney sat down across from me in the smaller room and he opened the folder. He said we are going to do this the quiet way first. He wrote one sentence on a piece of paper. He said, "Give this to the mediator." The sentence read, "Does your client still intend to pursue spousal support if evidence of adultery is introduced into the record?" The mediator took it next door. We waited. She came back 4 minutes later with a note of her own. It read, "My client is pursuing her full claim. No fault filing means no fault result." My attorney read it and almost smiled. He wrote the second note. It read, "We have time-stamped video from a hotel parking lot of your client with another man. Virginia bars spousal support for adultery. Please ask your client one more time." The mediator took it next door. This time she was gone for 12 minutes. When she came back, she said the other side has requested a short recess. 20 minutes later, we reconvened in the main conference room. Her attorney cleared his throat. He said his client was withdrawing her spousal support claim. My attorney nodded. Then he said, "Now we need to talk about the affidavit from her best friend." Her attorney's face did not move, but I watched his pen stop writing. My attorney pulled a single sheet of paper out of the folder and laid it down in front of her attorney, her best friend's affidavit, signed and notarized. Every word of what my wife had said that night in her apartment laid out in black and white. The request to lie under oath, the drinking, the 4 hours of trying to frame me. Her attorney read it twice. He asked for another recess. They were gone for 35 minutes. When they came back, my wife's face was red and her eyes were swollen. Her attorney said his client was prepared to accept the 50-50 asset split and withdraw any claim to additional consideration. My attorney said, "Good." He said, "We will accept that offer with one addition." He said, "Your client pays half of our attorney's fees, given the circumstances that necessitated this action." Her attorney looked at my wife. She nodded without speaking. They signed the agreement in the conference room that afternoon. We walked out at 4:17 p.m. My wife walked out 10 minutes after us, so we would not have to ride the elevator together. My attorney shook my hand on the sidewalk. He said, "It is done." He said, "Go home and get some sleep." He said, "You will not have to see her again until the final hearing, and that one is just a formality." I drove home, and I slept for 11 hours. I had not heard anything about her for almost 2 months. I went back to work. I picked up more hours at the auto parts store. I dropped the Uber shifts for a while because I did not need the money anymore, and I wanted to sleep through a full night for the first time in a year. The final hearing was a formality. It took 14 minutes. The judge signed the decree. I walked out of the courthouse at 10:22 a.m., and I drove back to work, and I clocked in at 11 o'clock. I found out what happened to her from her best friend. She called me one more time, about 9 weeks after mediation. She said she had been wanting to tell me for a while and had not known if she should. She said my wife had shown up at the affair partner's house the same week we signed the papers, bags packed, ready to move in. She said the for sale sign was already in the front yard. His truck was gone. The house was empty. The affair partner's wife had filed for divorce 2 weeks before I filed against mine. She had been tracking him through the family phone plan GPS for 4 months. She had her own video, her own photos, her own documentation. She had hit him with a Virginia equitable distribution claim and a marital waste argument of her own, and she had hit it hard. He had lost the house. He had lost half of his retirement. He had been forced to pay her attorney's fees, and he had moved back in with his parents in West Virginia 2 days before my wife pulled into his driveway with a suitcase. My wife called him from the driveway. His number was blocked. She tried his work number. His office told her he was no longer employed there and that they were not permitted to forward contact information. She tried his cousin. The cousin told her to lose his number and hung up. She sat in that driveway for about 40 minutes before she drove away. Her best friend told me my wife had called her crying that night. She had asked her best friend if she could come stay at her apartment for a while. Her best friend had told her no. She had told her that what she did, asking someone to lie under oath in a court of law, was not something you came back from. She had told her to lose her number too. My wife ended up renting a 1-bedroom in a complex on the other side of the county. She was working 2 jobs last I heard, which was funny to me because that was what she had left me for not doing enough of. I do not think about her much anymore. I paid off my truck with my share of the settlement. I put the rest into my 401k. I still work at the auto parts store. I picked the Uber shifts back up on weekends because I like having the extra money, and I like driving at night when the city is quiet. Sometimes a fare will get in the back seat and ask me if I am married. I tell them no. They ask if I was ever married. I tell them yes. They ask what happened. I tell them the truth. I tell them her best friend called me one night and told me everything. And then I tell them the rest of it takes about 20 minutes. Most of them want to hear it. And I know a lot of people are wondering why her best friend snitched on her. Well, she has a husband who didn't think it was right for her to keep a secret like that, and that's why she called me. I think he handled the situation pretty well. I read some of the comments sometimes, and a few times I've noticed that some men were getting teased because they need therapy because they've experienced infidelity. Not everybody processes everything the same. So if a man says he needs therapy, take it. The best thing I can see out of that situation is he doesn't have to resort to violence. If that helps him not to be violent toward his ex-partner, then yeah, I'll take that as a win. So do what you need to do so you don't have to resort to violence for someone who cheats on you. They are not worth it. Don't give them that power. Until next time.